Well, good morning there, Uber-Tuber-Ubers and Tuberettes alike. It's a chilly morning in here, and my little trailer doesn't have much in the way of heat, so hot chocolate. And I really only drink hot chocolate this time of year, but anyway, sometimes it's good. And really have very little to do today. I was looking at my little schedule, and I thought, well, maybe I could do some laundry, or something like that. Man, it probably wouldn't hurt too much. I'm just curious if I can express to you what kind of bounces around inside of my noggin, because I really spend very little time talking with other human beings, actual human beings, not some stupid video box in front of me. But I, for the listeners who do listen, thank you for watching, and I hope you have a blessed time this year. And 2026 is going to be, if we think of the Happy New Year's thing coming up, it's going to be a weird year. I've been kind of, preaching doom and gloom here for quite a while. Have I been right yet? No. But things are really kind of shaping up, or actually tumbling down, if you'd like to know. And I just kind of wanted to chit chat with you some, and I'm pretty sure that I am maybe sensing some of the same things that you are, and perhaps we could have a little comparison between where you see things and where I'm seeing. And feel free to comment if you do that sort of thing. Try to keep it clean. But anyway, in terms of what I see out here in reality land, is that I even wrote down notes today because my mind wanders, like if you hadn't noticed. So usually I'm working off of any kind of script, and this is not exactly a script; it's just a few notes. But anyway, the thing that I see is that there's a new desire in my life, and to me, it's new. I mean, it really is. For practically all my life, well, ever since I was quite young, I guess I could have probably been diagnosed as depressed. And I do remember this: when the Lord found me, I was 18 years old. I was suicidal. I saw no reason to hang around here at all. Everything I did just made things worse. It's like if you got a criminal and he's aware that every time he breathes, he's got a new indictment against him. Well, then quit breathing, and it seemed, fairly obvious to me. It's like, first thing to do is stop the bleeding. Quit making things worse. So if you can imagine, a junior high, I guess they call it mid school now. It used to be 7, 8, and 9. Now it's 6, 7, and 8. But never mind that. If you can imagine a little sixth grader being held up by the what do you call it, the collars of his shirt against a locker. What do you want? By this big bully of an eighth grader, the guy's the size of a tank. What do you want? Tell me what you want. And my attitude for years when I was younger is like, I really don't want anything. I mean, I see you're trying to bribe me with money, you're trying to bribe me with sex, you're trying to bribe me with power. None of those look very interesting. What else you got in the box? And it was like, keep your junk, I'm not interested. And so the world is on one page, and I was told I was supposed to somehow or another get engaged and want that too, to want to be a success by the world's standards, which, to be honest with you, most of the rich people that I met in my life, I don't like them. They're not pleasant to be around. They're pushy, they're self-centered, and they're weird. Now, not all of them, of course, but and I think there can be Christian people with scads of money. Who cares about that? What difference does my opinion make? But the point is that I never wanted anything. I never, just let me out of here. Just show me the exit, okay? So in brief, really, really, all I wanted to do was just to die. And it was about 6 or 8 years ago, maybe more than that now. I was out walking in the road, not in the road, next to it on the sidewalk, and the uh, the idea came to me, and it stopped me dead in my tracks. I was walking along, thinking about things, and again, I was just spun, kind of thinking, I don't even know what I'm doing down here. And the thing was is that I just thought, just let me out, just show me the exit, and he did. In other words, the call of the gospel is that we die. We die with Christ. Our deaths are united to his death. Therefore, our life, our future life, and our present life is also linked and united. This is a forever link, a bond. Well, build on that then, Mike. And I've been a Christian all these years, and still this whole desire thing has been a real sore spot, kind of a dark spot on me where I just never really got over that basic desire. Like, if you really want me to be honest, I'll just tell you, show me the exit. Why would anyone want to stay around this place? But at any rate, that's just me. The thing is, there's a new desire. The kingdom is in your midst, and that means then that there is renewal. There is a new goal. In other words, it isn't a heap of money. It isn't a pile of gold. It isn't, add in all the jewels of the world. Get every pearl you can find, make a huge pile of all of the wealth, the physical wealth of the world, as men understand it. He himself is the treasure. He's the guy who invented that stuff. He's the guy who causes it to exist in real time. He himself is the treasure. I want to latch hold of him in a new way, which the only way to think about it is by faith, right? So we confess the truth, his lordship, and his position as a sovereign, but also he's coming. He will be here, we believe, soon, very soon. So part of what I'm seeing out here in reality land is that we've got a real economic bomb on our hands here. In the United States especially, Europe is already experiencing a lot of this. And I think in some ways Europe is ahead of the curve in terms of development, or in this case more of like as the patient expires, the bankruptcy of ethics, the bankruptcy of morals, the bankruptcy of truth, the bankruptcy of integrity leads to a financial bankruptcy because of the theft involved, if nothing else. We're talking about a collapse of the U.S. dollar. We're talking about a collapse of what was an international trade, which was not fair at all. It was a bogus array that was set up post World War II, and the U.S. put it in place because they had the power, and it served their interest. And so the thing is that I'm not saying that the U.S. has been the bad guys only. They're not the only bad guys, but there has been a lot of bad faith in terms of the way that the U.S. projects power, especially around the world. And here's an example right now. Is this going to blow up in our face? Guess what? The Saudi petro dollar of the 70s is going away. And now we believe, or some people believe, I do too, that the Venezuelan pool, which is even larger than the Saudis in terms of volume they estimate, the U.S. is trying to tackle hold of that and use it in the same way. Well, guess what? China has already gotten into that market. China's already buying Venezuelan oil, and it doesn't matter whether the U.S. likes it or not, because they've set up the financial stuff that it's entirely legal. So at any rate, we're looking at the dollars are just being pumped out, more junk money as a sort of a patch on top of a patch on top of a patch, and it's going to crack. It has to. At some point or another, the stress of all this, becomes absurd, and our political leaders are leaders who should be looking out for your welfare and working to establish the security and stability of the United States. They're on the greed side. There's this looting operation going on, and so we're looking at what will be, I believe, a terrific economic catastrophe. In terms of, your grandparents probably lived through the Great Depression of 29 to, I guess it ended in the U.S. around 38 or 39. But at any rate, it was World War II and the factories there that started up the engine again. But so we've had essentially a mentality in the West that if you want to have a financially secure environment, start a war. And that's what the policy of these neocons is. It's a lunacy. They would just love to see the U.S. involved in nothing less than a war in the Middle East, and a war in Ukraine, and a war in Taiwan. I mean, the neocons are just nuts. And what we're going to do is we're going to create some serious with this political insanity that's going on with the crooked deals and all the funny money and all it's a lot of it's just junk money. It's imaginary. The church, who is supposed to be the watchman on the wall, the church who is supposed to be the ones who recognize the signs of the time that we are in, to send a warning, to send a verbal warning. Dire times are coming. Batten down the hatches. If you can get out of debt now. And things like that. Where's the church? Zip it. The church has not anything to say on this, as far as I can tell. And to me, that's just really depressing, because some of the greatest leaders in the past also happened to be Christian believers, but they had a spine. They had a backbone. And that's one of the huge differences, is that when you believe the way that the modern church does, in this sort of wimpy, kind of feel-good, God wants you rich and white and whatever, uh, you have nothing to offer. You're selling junk, okay? The gift of the gospel is a gift. And the church should be the ones out front saying, we are coming into dire times. Is this the end? We don't know. But it would be wise to prepare as if it were. Wouldn't it be the horrible thing to find out at the end that yes, it was the end, and yes, I did know, yes, I did have advance warning, and I did what? I did nothing in response except just sit and watch these dominoes fall. Click, click, click. There goes this government. There goes that one. We've become fans. We think we're up in the stands eating popcorn and stuff, watching the show on the field. No, we are on the field, and we're not doing our part. I look around and I think, what does the world need right now? For one thing, it needs men who will speak the truth and mean it. Millions of people voted for DJT last year on the basis that he was going to basically halt the war, stop the killing in Ukraine. He's taken the Biden policies and he's inflated them. The war in Ukraine is still being funded by you. And so there's a situation where we have millions of people who want to hear, and Charlie Kirk as an example, the guy was gunned down for basically telling the truth. And some people don't want the truth out there now, do they? The church should know this. The church should know that in the position of being a witness for the truth, she is the enemy of the powers of this world. There should be hostility there, and there's awfully a lot of friendly hostility in my mind. The church, by and large, is indistinguishable from an upscale country club in a lot of places, and I hope your church is not one of those. If the gospel of Jesus Christ is preached, if the Bible is preached, if the Spirit is among you, give thanks. And if your leadership is not perfect, join the club and get in line. Nobody's leadership is perfect. And if you find a perfect church, turn around and leave. You don't belong there. But the point is that what I'm seeing is that as the chaos of the world increases and the ineffectiveness, the kind of the general wimpiness, it leads to a kind of a malaise. Instead of courage, instead of let's stand up, let's do something. There's this phrase, take a stand. Strictly metaphorical. No one's even going to stand up out of their chair, trust me. But the thing that strikes me so much is that nobody appears to be doing anything to derail or reshape the course here of politics and of the doings of nations to cohere with, say, sanity or reality or the laws of numbers. You know what I mean? When you have a situation where an entity, whether it's a government or a private organization or whatever, if it is forced to borrow every year just to pay the interest on the loan it owes, forget about paying anything on the loan, then that's what we call bankrupt. The U.S. has been there for years, but we haven't had to face that because pumping all this garbage funny money into the world economy kept the U.S. afloat. That's ending. And as a result, everything is going to shift. Everything that you grew up with, everything that you thought was normal, if you grew up in the West, you will be shocked at the changes that are coming. And they're not, shall we say, wholesome, encouraging changes. And right in the middle of all this catastrophe is, while we have this financial breakdown, we have this AI bubble where the investments in here are going to be in the trillions. And the head guy at IBM says it'll never pay off. You cannot possibly make enough money using this tool to ever pay for. Why would you build this thing? It's a net loss. You cannot continue to increase the size of LLMs and scale up until you arrive, voila, at AGI. It doesn't happen. And so the thing is that there's, in the middle of this catastrophe, is one of the biggest financial boondoggles, one of the biggest fiascos. Is going to be, I don't know, hundreds of billions of dollars lost as they realize that this money they just invested here, they flushed down the toilet. So we have a weird situation brewing where money itself is going to become the question. And so if you think about the end of the age and all that stuff, are we really near the end of the age? I don't know exactly how close, and I'm not going to call out a date. But one of the most important things is that if you want to have something called a mark here or here, in order that you may legally buy or sell, for centuries theologians wondered, what does that mean? And we know that most of them believe that it was some sort of brand, with a hot iron or a tattoo of some kind, permanent. And how that would explain the prohibition against buying and selling made no sense, because everything like that could easily be forged. So the thing is that as we consider this, we now have the technology on the ground and in being applied right there in as an example in microchips. Those could be used. Are they the tool? I don't know. But in other words, anytime that the government or some big shot says you have to implant something in your body in order to meet our government standards, know that that is treachery from hell. Don't buy it. Don't take that thing in your body. Don't take that bent, twisted needle, their miracle drug, whatever they've got this time. Don't buy it, and advise your friends to think real hard about swallowing that pill, because it's a once pill. There's no backing out of that. And as far as I can tell, this is the first time in history where the tech for that, for a mark of the beast, is actually an actual product that could be deployed in on mass scale, but yet it would have to be global. And so part of the destruction here that has to come prior to the inauguration of this is the destruction of the dollar. You can't have two systems like that. One where this machine thing or whatever it is on your body and greenbacks still exist. Like if I still got two 20s and a 10, I can buy $65 and get some change. You don't have to know my name. You don't know where I live. All you know is that that's legal tender. You can't have those two systems simultaneously. And so anyone who avoids the thing will be called naturally a black marketeer and a criminal. And just like Trump is doing right now with homeless people, he's essentially criminalizing homelessness. Now, I don't know how far the enforcement of this has gone, but when you say that someone is not allowed to be homeless, and without being, shall we say, picked up for their own good, dropped off in a facility somewhere, what are these facilities? And so we're looking at a lot of really weird stuff happening, but anyway, the tech exists, and in order for it to be applied, you have to crash the currency. Is that what we're seeing? If it is, the church needs to stand up and say, the Lord indeed is coming, perhaps very, very soon in our lifetimes. The call of the gospel is closing. That door is closing. And when that door closes, it's closed for sure. Then one of the scariest little things that the Lord talks about is the wedding feast where the bridegroom shows up late, and the girls are carrying their little oil lamps, and some of them get locked out because they got to go buy oil in the middle of the night. He looks over the door and says, "I don't know you." Door stays locked. So when the door closes, you don't want to be on the outside. Come in while you can. In other words, the kingdom within you isn't something you did. It's not a government program. It's not a self-help thing. It's a renewal, supernatural renewal. You have a new heart. I have the mind of Christ, you are taught to say. We are beginning again. We're starting a life pattern all over again. And in this life, we begin to realize for the first time our true desire, He Himself, to be in His presence, to hear Him, to hold His hand and look Him right in the eye. He's the one that we seek. And so the thing is that the world is going to be going crazy out there. And I don't even know if I'll survive. But physically, I mean. But the point is that when we are looking at these things, the cry that just keeps going up in my mind is, who's doing anything about this? Who's even lifting one little pinky to straighten this train wreck out? We're just sitting here eating popcorn, watching it happen. And I think the thing that you can do, I think the thing that I can do, we've got to begin somewhere, is to begin with prayer. Find some time. Go away from everybody. Get out and enjoy the sounds of nature if you can. Especially the sound of running water. I recommend that one. Whether it's ocean waves crashing or a brook going by, that watery sound it's good juju for your brain. But the point being is that get out somewhere and begin to realize that my desires, I thought I wanted to be somebody. I thought I wanted to succeed. I thought I wanted this, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. But what I really want is to be found in His arms at long last. Because He's the one who is the central value. We think of economics. He's the pile of gold in person. When you're a leprechaun and you got the rainbow right at the end of the rainbow, and there's this little green guy hanging around. He's got Jesus in that pot. He's got the treasure. Well, that's probably a terrible example. but the point being, when we look around and we begin, I just kind of want to flail my arms around and think, well, who's doing anything, and what am I doing? What am I doing really? We need to speak out. We need to declare the truth that sin is sin, perversion is perversion. The Epstein files will never be revealed in your natural lifetime. It would destroy too many important people. And so as a result, we live in a crooked, dark age. You are to be a light. Be that light. And as you are, that means exposing what's in the dark. And the dark doesn't like that. The dark is built on the premise of they can always hide. They have their shenanigans, they have their doodahs, but they never come out in the open. Not until the victory is absolutely secure in their mind and they think there's zero threat to them. That day is coming when they will manifest in 3D, and we will be having some wild world times here. About then, just about the time they were for sure that they had peace and safety and security on their terms, bang, like a bear trap. They'll never see it coming. The glory of the gospel, He wins. And in that, you win with Him. He's the faithful believer. And in Him, we are joined to that living faith. And we grow. And there's hope for us. Not because there's anything hopeful about me. Look at me, blah. But the one who has called us, He has a destiny, an end for us that currently we're unable to imagine. but marvelous doesn't even begin to categorize it properly. Better than good, gooder than good, that's him. And so run to win, because let's face it, the enemies of Christ will find you out sooner or later. If you love Jesus and you have no intention of taking that mark, it will become evident. Might as well stand up and say so. I say not only no, but hell no. I refuse those implants. Make that a public record. Make that part of your testimony. Start there. Anyway, that's my thoughts for the day, and I guess I'll maybe go out and try to take a little walk. I tried it yesterday, but blah. I think I made it maybe 1 mile with 8 breaks. I'm good for about 220 yards. I got more bad news medically, and I don't want to get into that with you. That's just old guy stuff. But the short version is, here's how the surgeon and my conversation might be summarized. He goes, maybe we should have gone ahead and done the fusion back then in May. So now he says a fusion is required. Who knew? So my back, I'm going to work my therapist and see if I can get control over this thing. It's a fractured bone down in there that's doing this when it shouldn't. Maybe we should have done the fusion. So anyway, now doing a fusion, you'd have to come in from the front, blah, to work on the spine. And so anyway, that's more junk. And so who knows what's going to happen? And maybe I won't be walking very much, but I will hopefully be able to keep making a video or two. And once again, thanks for watching. And this is really all I wanted to say. Who's doing something? Who's doing something? How about you and me? We begin. Just between the two of us. We're nobodies. We're not big shots. But we're those who call upon the name of the living God. The I am who was and is to come. We call upon him and he hears. And in that, there's hope. There you go.